This is Scheme to Death with football columnist Murf Baldwin, delving deep into scheme and personnel as only he can do. And now, your host, Murf Baldwin.
Color me not surprised. Your boy's not a happy camper on this one, right? So I'm going to give people who are male Karens and people with very little life experience outside of their own little bubble a chance to go ahead and click off, right? So if you come in the comment section and you're talking about, oh, why don't you just do this? Why not just stick to football and all this bullshit actual racist people say to people who are minorities, right? You might as well save that shit, hit don't recommend channel like I always tell you guys to do. Like, no matter what I say, people say I'm this and that, you still continue to watch. You know what I mean? So that says more about you than it does me. Because if the shoe was on the other foot, I would not give a shit what you have to say if what I say or what you say doesn't align with what I like, right? It's not that serious. It's just a YouTube channel, right? It's definitely not serious to somebody who's watching a YouTube channel. It's actually kind of very serious to somebody who's making a living off of this, right? Which culminates and spawns other businesses as well, brings about sponsorship and all that, right? So speaking of, right, make sure you always support the sponsors, support BetUS, support everything you see for people who are rocking with your boys. So just gave you time to click off. Go ahead and beat it, because I'm going to delve into topics that mean a lot to me, that predate even me being in football media. This is stuff that I've dedicated a ton of time to in my life, and stuff that I'm very passionate about, right? Stuff like racial equality. Now, coming out of that game, right, like I said before, color me not surprised, you have people who are bandwagoners in life, right? You know what I mean? In life in general, people want to be a part of a go along, get along game. They want to be a part of what's popular. Obviously, if you follow me, I couldn't give a damn less about being popular, which is funny because I always end up popular. I don't care about it, but that's been pretty much the story of my entire life. And it is something that it doesn't matter to me, right? Because I just want to live my life the way I want to live. So a lot of people want to be on the bandwagon. They talking about, oh yeah, I was supporting Geno since day one, all this and that, right? When things are going well, right? You even had a dude come on and say, yeah, where the haters at now after one of those earlier games? I've been supporting Geno since day one. And I looked at his comment history, and he had one comment on my channel prior to that one. Right, some of y'all may have seen that exchange. A lot of y'all don't even really watch the content. Y'all run to my comment section just to see my replies to other men. Shit that would never happen in real life. If I'm having an exchange with another man, let's say we on Market Street somewhere out in Philly or something like that, you wouldn't come over and barge in, right? Shit wouldn't happen. But people don't purport themselves, or, you know what I mean, like they would in real life on the internet, right? So that's why I don't ever take people seriously on the internet, right? So worrying about that instead of the crux of it being like, hey, bro, I've had all this Geno content. Nobody has more Geno Smith content than me. Nobody believes in this guy more than I do. Nobody has the history of watching the guy, right, longer than I do, right? Whether it be at West Virginia. I love watching that dude play. I could call my mother up right now, or her and I exchanges back when he was in college, right? Because, I mean, that's just a thing that was in my household or with my parents, right? The black quarterback. I love to see my people in positions of leadership. A quarterback is a position of leadership. So is being a head coach, right? And beyond that, right? Whether it be, I don't know, a mayor of a city, politics, just things like that, right? And I always felt that you have a very short window of opportunity when you're a minority in positions of leadership. Now, remember, I fight for racial equality. That's across the board. So you'll see me delve into topics like Aiden Hutchinson being treated unfairly when he was playing football, and I knew exactly why people were saying that he would be a bust and he shouldn't be up for the Heisman and all this shit like that. And I've tackled that subject there. I've tackled subjects on guys like Reed Blankenship, right, from the Philadelphia Eagles as a white safety, and all the people there talking about how he's not this, he's not that, he's not athletic, when technically if you look at the numbers, he's more athletic than the guy previously, right? Those type of things I absolutely hate, and I'm passionate about doing my part to try to eradicate stuff like that. Now, will you ever eradicate stuff like that? No. People are set in their ways. Some people don't have the life experience around other races. Some people think that they're in a city that's got like 3-4% black people, and they call it diversity. You know what I mean? Like, this is stuff that I've gone through, right? So to really be there, you need to be around a whole bunch of different cultures, a whole bunch of different ways of operating, a whole bunch of different ways of thinking, because people are just going to be different. But you have to be accepting of people's differences and being able to go along accordingly or get along accordingly. So, I mean, with that being said, somebody like Geno Smith, I've been harping on this for the last couple of years. You can just see it. When things are going well, he doesn't get much of the credit. People will try to pass the buck, right? People will say, oh, Stone Feet Forsythe was balling or something like that. And I'm looking at the film, I'm like, Stone Feet Forsythe sucks. He, being Geno Smith, escaped a ton of pressure, making him look at least, you know what I'm saying, at the very most average, right? But he wouldn't get no credit for his pocket presence because people don't like him. Now, is that everybody don't like Geno Smith because of the color of his skin? No. But there are preconceived notions with black people who have not been successful before. It's like, no, you will never be able to shake that stigma. You'll never be able to improve on anything you did in the past. You must hit the ground running and be damn near perfect, or you're not going to be looked at the same as people of other races. That's just some of the, and this is not nothing new, right? If you haven't heard something like this before, that's not my fault. Right? That means you need to get out more. You need to go move around, right? Move to another city. Go move to another part of the city or somewhere like that. Move to another part of the country. Like, have some life experiences, right? These are topics that are in my community that I feel passionate about and that I've heard since I was a kid. You have to absolutely be perfect as a black person in a leadership position. So, now, has Geno Smith been perfect this season? No. Has his offense been perfect this season? No. You can say a lot of stuff, right? The run game sometimes doesn't look good. The offensive line all the time in pass pro looks terrible. The run game's not looking that good because some of these guys aren't pass blocking as well. You've had receivers drop tons of passes. You've had fumbles. You've had a lot of stuff from a lot of people, but ultimately it usually just falls on Geno Smith. So coming out of that San Francisco game, I knew that was the game that targeted there. I was like, if they do not perform well, especially if he doesn't perform well, it's going to be a wrap for him. People are going to go back to that same bullshit. They couldn't really say anything. They tried to say stuff about certain games, right? I had even a dude come in there talking about, oh, Geno Smith's wearing a chain. This weird shit that they would try to point out about somebody like Geno Smith, despite the fact that you can tell that he's a great leader. He's passionate about what he does. He wants to win. He seems to be he actually seems to be a pretty good fit for the Seattle Seahawks. You know what I'm saying? But no, people have to compare him to his predecessor. His predecessor in a time period where that team was just way better, way more talent, Hall of Fame talent, right? Is there Hall of Fame talent on this team right now? But back then, I could definitely tell someone like Richard Sherman was a Hall of Famer, right? Or Earl Thomas, and and these guys like that. These were some Hall of Famers, like straight up, right? But Marshawn Lynch, man, these are big time players. You know what I mean? It's hard to compare that time period to this present time period, especially right now when you have a new regime and people are learning new schemes. So they're only in a handful of games learning a new scheme. I thought there would be growing pains to begin with. And to me, man, they look further ahead of schedule on offense than I thought. The same day, I forgot to even mention the defense. The defense looks suspect against viable competition. It's a fact. The team has a way to go. It has ways to go, which is to be expected. You have to temper your expectations and stop being a fanboy. Sometimes, you know what I mean, your team's just not going to win the Super Bowl. It happens. But you can still enjoy the game of football without being some type of dumbass and without letting other shit, well, that's the thing. People think that if someone has a belief or something outside of sports, why would that belief change with sports? Sports magnifies things, right? It holds up a mirror to people because you have a lot of people making a ton of money, getting a ton of attention. Lots of limelight being placed on people who play sports. That's just it. And we all play sports, and 99.9% of us did not make it professionally. So that alone right there is going to shape the opinions of people. So to see somebody like Geno Smith, who did not have success early on in his career, people cannot turn that chapter, despite the fact that this guy has been to 2 Pro Bowls, right? People will try to couch that, like, some dude was like, well, he didn't make the Pro Bowl roster originally. The fuck does that mean? And who cares? If you go back through the history of the Pro Bowl, there are a ton of alternates that are on the Pro Bowl, and nobody puts an asterisk by and say they were an alternate. They say they made the Pro Bowl. You know why? Because there's more than just Geno Smith after Matthew Stafford. There's plenty of other quarterbacks in the NFC who had a chance to make it, but they thought that Geno Smith was in that tier, and he made it. Right? So just letting you know that he's playing at least towards the top, right? Maybe not, maybe in the middle, maybe above the median, but he's still there enough for them to be able to select him, right? Comeback player of the year, led the league in completion percentage, was leading the league in yardage right now. I'm not sure if he still is. I believe they said he was leading the league in yardage and second in completion percentage, right? Yet you have people after one game saying that he needs to be benched in favor of Sam Howell. That quick, right? It's not even that it's that quick. It's that they really didn't have anything to say. They won't say nothing when something is going well, but they'll be extremely vocal the minute it goes bad because it validates their opinion of this guy that he will never be able to shake. Now, it's not everyone. I want to harp on that, right? When I'm talking to who it applies to. So if it does not apply to you, I don't know how many times I have to keep saying this shit, right? I keep saying it's a disconnect of culture. We don't raise our hand in my culture if it doesn't apply to me. If somebody came in the room and was like, I want all the ugly dudes to sit down and shut up. He ain't getting no chicks or something like that. I'm not going to then jump up and say, hey, leave me alone. Right? I'm just going to be sitting there chilling and shit. Like, he ain't talking to me, so I'm chilling. You know what I mean? Right? But some of you dudes would be like, hey, man, it's unfair. You know what I mean? So if it doesn't apply to you, shut up. It's that simple, right? I'm talking to who I'm talking to. But you can't sit there and pretend like you haven't seen those type of people, right? They just lay in the weeds, just waiting for an opportunity to pounce, right? That shit is corny to me, right? And if you look at it, if you're suggesting someone like Sam Howell, is he shown to be that he's some type of top flight quarterback? You can lean on the fact that he's young, but I mean, the guy led the league in interceptions. So Geno can't throw a couple of interceptions or have right now, 6 or something like that. And when you've watched the game and you know a few of those aren't his fault, and you know that they're not even doing this guy a service, right? That's why I said people are stat driven. A lot of people don't understand what they're watching. They watch social media. They barely even watch the damn game. You know how many people run the social media during the game? You're on the social media the entire game? The fuck out of here, right? When football is on, I'm watching the football. I'm not watching my phone. You know what I mean? You people just want to have something to do. That's why you come with these half-cocked opinions that is stupid. So, you know what I mean? I like Yosemite Sam, that right. None of you people really cared about Sam Howell before he was a Seattle Seahawk, maybe during the draft process for a little bit or something like that. But most people wasn't saying they wanted Sam Howell even during the draft process. But the minute he becomes a Seahawk, he's the better option than Geno Smith. All right? Yeah, if people just say goofy shit, like somebody said that Sam Howell was a better athlete than Geno Smith. Despite the fact that Geno Smith had 4.5 speed at the combine, Sam Howell couldn't even break the damn 4s. Right? Couldn't break the 4s. That's crazy. The man ran a 5 something. right? He was running like lineman time. There's not even a comparison, right? People made fun of Russell Wilson's height and stuff like that. Sam Howell's not much more taller than him, right? Sam Howell has a good skill set. I like Sam Howell. No doubt about that. But to me, that just goes to show that first it was Drew Lock. I said before, like, Drew Lock is not a good football player, man. You can say what you want about the dude. He has to at least prove it. But he hadn't shown anything for people to be so gung-ho about him. He played the Philadelphia Eagles, and he had a terrible game up until the very last. It just so happens the Philadelphia Eagles were sucking at the time. Right, still really hadn't changed anything from that either. But then he ends up throwing a game-winning touchdown, right? People act like they've never seen that before, despite the fact that Geno had did that multiple times, and he had some kind of record to say, like, comebacks in the fourth quarter or something like that. And the dude had the game-winning touchdown to lock it in the Detroit Lions game that year and all that shit like that. But none of that matters, right? You know why? Because they have a preconceived notion of this man. So anything he does actually doesn't matter. It only matters when it's bad. So parsing that out, talking about the actual San Francisco game and people talking about the interceptions, I went over it before. The one to Lockett was bad. He had a little pressure in his face. He was definitely feeling it. He's been getting beat up a lot the last few weeks. I bet he has to be sore because he's escaping pressure. He's escaping hands and stuff on him. I saw where they said like Stone Forsythe was going against Bosa, I think in 19 reps, and Bosa had 8 pressures. Some of those pressures, he had his hand on Geno Smith, and Geno Smith escaped. And that meant 0, and it had 0 sacks. Like, he's escaping all this pressure, still having to go through his progressions, and he has some guys that will let him down, like a DK Metcalf. So the second interception to DK Metcalf, what did I say? This was directly after the game, right? You already know. I don't give a damn what nobody else says about football. I'm going to come up with my opinions. I don't even watch anything other than the football game. When I'm not watching the football games, I'm not caring about other shit. Maybe it pops up on my Google card or something like that, but I'm not going searching for anyone else's material in the media. I don't want to know anyone else's opinion. I want my opinion to be my own. This article ran across my Google cards, and I clicked on it because I could tell it was going to be curating comments from Mike McDonald. I wanted to know about a couple of those plays. Now, if you look right here, it said it was a regular day after game news conference on Friday, and he talked about pointed to a few plays involving the team's most high-profile stars, Geno Smith and DK Metcalf, right? He said that there were a couple of plays that if you ask DK, he probably said he will want back, right? It said this was a night that left both expressing visible frustration during the game, and afterwards Metcalf finished with just 3 receptions for 48 yards on 11 targets. He was targeted 11 times. Is that the guy that should be targeted 11 times, and you know his skill set? I just don't think so. He needs to be the explosive guy, right? The guys who need to do the heavy lifting like that, Jackson Smith and Jigba, more times than not, he's going to be open. Same deal with Tyler Lockett, right? And a guy like Jake Bobo. Now, that doesn't mean Metcalf can't be the most important piece because he's the most explosive piece. So you target him in ways and opportunities the way he's getting touchdowns and let the other guys do the heavy lifting, right? But I see right here, it says, McDonald says, I think there's a couple of plays where if you ask DK, probably felt like he should have came down with. He said Metcalf didn't even talk to reporters after the game. One of those was surely a 3rd and goal from the 49ers, 2. In the final second of the first half, Metcalf barely failed to get both feet in bounds from Smith. If he gets that in bounds there, does that mean that Smith had a better game because he threw that particular touchdown? He threw the ball perfectly. That's on Metcalf to get his feet down. But that somehow eradicates the fact that Geno Smith was fine on that play. Your man didn't get it done. Mike McDonald's, you know what I mean? He felt like that was passive-aggressively saying he felt like DK Metcalf should have had that. You got to get your feet down, bro. That's a part of the business right there, right? And then they talked about like the play from A.J. Barner where they had converted and they were going to be in good range there, right? And that penalty by A.J. Barner, the holding penalty, moved him back. And then, look, this is the play right here. Smith, again, tried to hit Metcalf, this time on a deeper route over the middle. Metcalf appeared to round off his route instead of making a sharp cut, which allowed San Francisco's Renardo Green to cut in front for an interception. That set up a quick TD. Asked about the play after the game, Smith gave a terse explanation saying only, "It was an interception, man. We all saw it. Bad play by me." Right? So this man is taking blame for it as a great leader. But then McDonald came and said, it's a team pick. It's a team pick, so we're just not sharp enough. It's really that simple. You get what he's saying right there? Obviously, you're not going to put the blame on DK Metcalf. First and foremost, he's emotional. He'll check out. He's a malcontent. He's a crybaby. He'll do all this shit to upstage his quarterback and all that. So you don't want to attack him like that. But that's a great way for you people to, you know what I'm saying, to not know that he was saying that exactly that. DK Metcalf rounded off his route, or he started to drift upfield, right? Instead of making it sharp and cutting that angle there, you could tell by Geno Smith's face. I don't know why did you not see DK Metcalf? He wasn't really complaining. Matter of fact, if you looked on the sideline, you could almost see him say, I think he said that was on me. All right, I think that was pointed out by someone else as well. But but Geno Smith, his face was like, what? You know what I'm saying? He was expecting him to be in a spot. But a hater's not going to look at it like that way, right? You had multiple haters come up on the channel talking about this and that or whatever like that, talking about the turnovers. I'm like, okay, one of them his fault. No doubt about that with the Lockett stuff. But how was that one his fault? Right? And how was it his fault that DK couldn't get a foot down, or even Jackson Smith and Jigba, right? The ball, he got both the ball in both hands there, and he's unable to squeeze it. And I seen A.J. Brown make a couple of plays in very similar fashion to both of those plays there, and you can just see the difference, right? His hands is just extremely strong. Ain't nobody going to rake the ball up out of his hands, but that's not on Geno Smith. But that's not to say that Geno Smith had a good game. I said it myself. I didn't think he played that good of a game. But it was not all on him. Why does he need to be benched? He has a terrible offensive line. And against the great teams like a San Francisco, to me, none of those linemen look good. Even Charles Cross, as people try to prop him up, he was getting that prison loving as well. Connor Williams, to me, he hadn't even played that well. Right? He's still getting his sea legs, so I'm not going to totally come down on him like that, right? No diddy. But the rest of them dudes, man, come on, man. Doo-doo butter. Doo-doo butter. Laken Tomlinson, doo-doo butter. Anthony Bradford, doo-doo butter. Stone Feet Forsyth, sanitation, doo-doo butter. So there's a lot of people around Geno. You can, if anything, you can say that Geno was kind of lifting these guys up, right? Various drops by Dennis Rodman Jr. himself, DK Metcalf, various penalties on the guy, various fumbles and everything like that, but nobody would ever blame him, or, you know what I mean? It's going to always fall back to Geno Smith. So I've been tired of it, right? It's a tired subject, right? I said it before. I wish he would just move to another team, right? They then let it be something else besides that, because there's only so much time. It's only so much you can take of the same exact subject with the same exact people who can't formulate an opinion that doesn't have their feelings based on it, of however they feel about someone maybe off the field or a certain race or however they want to parse that out. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's frustrating, and I know there are a lot of people out there who feel as the way I do, and I'm not just talking about black people either. So I've get this from a ton of people who are white who say the same exact thing. They say that a lot of people just don't like Geno Smith and their fan base because he's a black quarterback, and I don't want to hear that Russell Wilson shit, right? They're two totally different. They're not going to be looked at the same. So, you know what I mean? You don't want to hear me say that. It does not matter. They're not, right? Nobody's would see Russell Wilson coming down the street if you didn't know who he was and be intimidated or scared or anything like that. Geno Smith, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, and even in knowing the personalities and stuff like that, I said before, Russell Wilson is a cornball. Go Hogs and all this and Mr. Unlimited. It's just different, man. So, yes, Russell Wilson obviously is not a white quarterback, at least in skin color. right? But you know what I'm saying, he doesn't appear to come across as a Lamar Jackson or Geno Smith or some of these guys that you see in the NFL, where people will criticize them unfairly and have harsh standards that the average player can't reach. Now, they talked about the interceptions, and they said that he's tied with Patrick Mahomes, like playing one more game or something like that. So, I mean, not to say he's Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is the best in the business. So, but, I mean, people turn the ball over, right? You have to watch the games. If you know that 2 or 3 of those are not his fault, tip passes and all kinds of shit, right? Come on, right? That's the thing, right? You have to be perfect. It's not you can't be very similar to other people who people think are very good. Remember, I've read the stats with Geno Smith and Josh Allen. Josh Allen, ton of turnovers, right? He has a very good skill set that people like, right? So he gets the benefit of the doubt. But Geno Smith wouldn't get that, despite them having very similar numbers, since Geno Smith has been the Seattle Seahawks starting quarterback. I mean, what do you attribute that to? I don't know, man. I don't know. It's frustrating, man. So, listen, I just had to kind of get that off my chest right there. People go and do what people do, man. And this world is already hard enough, and when you have to bring in stuff like that in the sports, but sports is just a microcosm of what's going on in society, period. So you have these people who have these certain beliefs. There's no way they're going to turn off those beliefs when sports is at the helm. And you see somebody like Geno Smith in a leadership position making millions and millions of dollars. Think logically. So a lot of you people can't think logically, and that's why I like rocking with you guys. So much love to the people out there who can think logically, who are critical thinkers, who aren't on that bullshit, who are above the bullshit, right? We need to start that, above the bullshit. So much love to Geno Smith. However it works out for him, man, I like that story. I like him being able to, what do you say, not write back and all that. It's a great story, man. If you're not a racist hater or something like that, you could get behind a story like that. You could clearly see the guy has some skills, man. He makes some throws every game that I'm like, damn, what a throw. And the announcers are starting, right? And some of these announcers just, Kirk Herbstreit, terrible, man. Absolutely terrible. Straight, right? He's saying shit, calling the man streaky and shit like that. I'm like, how can you be streaky and lead the league in completion percentage? All right? And have a damn near 100 rating in a season and have the ability to do some of the stuff that he's doing. The streaky part of it is the offensive line. That's streaky. You'll have some stretches where, okay, this is pretty straight, but then you have a ton of stretches that's just like, oh shit, how's he navigating this pocket? And he's still able to navigate it, keep his eyes upfield, and deliver on the run a lot. Or he's able to escape sacks, detach from the pocket. And now he's showing off a little bit of his running ability, right? So he's too old, right? He'll never be this and that. But you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers. I know he's Aaron Rodgers and all that, but these guys are 40 years old. Tom Brady playing into his mid-40s. But Geno is too old. Is he too old, or does he have the complexion for neglection, right? A lot of people have the complexion for the protection. He has the complexion for the neglection. So there you have it. All right. So we'll get back to business, man. Get on some film studies. Once again, I had to get that off my chest, man. Much love to everybody out there, man. Salutes to everybody out there. Vancouver, British Columbia, Alaska. Shout outs to people out in Hawaii, North Dakotas, the Dakotas, period. Montana. Shout outs to everybody out in Arizona, Vegas, Northern California, Oregon. I think, some cornball dude in Oregon, right? I might have to leave Oregon off the list, right? Y'all need more people representing than whatever that dumbass dude. I ought to do we'll come back with dumbasses of the week at another time, right? So it's a big segment of big segment of that fan base, or a decent segment. We'll put it this way: whichever segment that says that Geno Smith needs to be benched, those are the dumbasses of the week. So, all right. Texas and all these other people tapping in, man, across seas, right? You had people out in Vietnam and, right, and Malaysia, and crazy. So people tapping in all over the world, man. So shout out, baby. Salutes. Peace.